home. Vault dwellers are an endangered species. I do not think you would be willing to do what it takes to survive up here.
One of the most anticipated TV series of the year, Fallout, has landed on Prime Video in all its glory. The team behind the project is both experienced and fans of the popular games. However, does their adaptation make sense to viewers who haven't played the games at all? In this episode, we explore the world of Fallout, concentrating on the story, the writing, and the characters. We aim to determine if someone who hasn't played the games at all needs to play them in order to fully enjoy the series. Let's dive in. The genius part of Fallout, both in the games and in the series, is the history of this world, which begins several centuries before you as a character emerge from the vault. Let me explain. Up to about 1950s, the world was very much the same as our own, but with one major difference. Following 2 world wars and atomic bombs, the powerful nations of the world decide to shift their focus to developing nuclear physics, in particular, nuclear fusion, to generate vast amounts of power. While the energy sector is fundamentally changed, other areas of development such as architecture, media, fashion, etc. are left in the 50s. Basically, the major companies of the world put all their R&D focus in energy and robotics. This explains why the Fallout world has that retro futuristic appearance. Everything from suburban houses to TVs, clothes, cars, commercials, everything resembles the 1950s America. Yet it also features robots that, while advanced compared to today's standards, in Fallout they still look retro because nobody bothered to develop a more practical design. Imagine if companies like Apple, Amazon, Microsoft started focusing on energy efficiency a few decades ago instead of what they do today. The world would have looked totally different. Actually, it would have looked a lot like Fallout. Nuclear power depends on uranium, a finite resource similar to fossil fuels. Its ability to generate significant wealth made global powers very eager to control it. This desire for control led to a conflict between the 2 superpowers, the US and China. And the struggle for uranium eventually escalated into an all-out war in 2077, which lasted about 2 hours. By now, the vault industry was developed very well, which allowed the wealthy to survive the nuclear fallout by descending into the vaults, while the rest of the world became a toxic wasteland. Pockets of humanity survive in the world above, but not without sacrificing most of what makes them human.
Reserve your family spot in a state-of-the-art underground vault today. Sign up now and prepare for the future.
219 years after the wealthy humans cozied up in the vaults is when our story starts. By now, 2 generations of vault dwellers that have never seen the above world has been indoctrinated into sealed societies led by researchers and doctors. The purpose of vault dwellers? To restart humanity once the nuclear air above is, well, less deadly. In the TV series, we are introduced to this world by following 3 characters. We have Lucy McLean, a doe-eyed dweller of Vault 33, who after a failed marriage attempt is forced to brave the irradiated Los Angeles in search of her kidnapped father. There's also Maximus, an aspiring young man training to be a mech armor-wearing knight in a militaristic order known as the Brotherhood of Steel. And lastly, the Ghoul, a ruthless, deformed bounty hunter with mysterious but obviously destructive motives. The 3 characters will inevitably intersect, mainly due to a shared goal of tracking down Wiltzig, a secretive scientist that is in possession of a highly coveted object he's injected into his neck. These characters are all new to the Fallout world. You don't see Lucy, Maximus, or the Ghoul in the games, although we do see plenty of dwellers, mechanized knights, and ghouls.
In games, we say, try to sweat every pixel. They're sweating every pixel on the show.
This fascinating dystopian world is excellently replicated in the TV series. The creators' focus here is clearly in ensuring the feel and tone of the games is faithfully rendered in the series, and there is no frame spared to deliver on that purpose. After I saw the first episode, I actually rewatched it straight away just to wonder at all the details of Vault 33, with the living quarters, the cafeteria, the atrium, all richly detailed down to the design of the doors, the bolts, and the Pip-Boy devices on the dwellers' hands. Even the gore and the comedy and the video game nerd humor, the Easter eggs and the happy cake they're all there and perfectly rendered. The factions are also respectfully depicted, the naivete of the dwellers shines through, the brutality of the raiders, the religious cult of the Brotherhood of Steel, they all fall in line with the vibe of the game. Even the random encounters with the post-apocalypse survivors are fun, like the guy that was having intercourse, to put it politely, with chickens, or the stories in one image sequences, for example, the remnants of a family having their last meal before the nuclear blast turned them into ash. You can see the dedication to the game from the creators and the passion from the production team to render the visuals and the substance of the game. A job well done on that front.
Hello there. I'm here to show you a wonderful place.
The first episode is undoubtedly all about introducing us to the world of Fallout and getting the story going. We see the nuclear fallout in a spectacular sequence in the first 10 minutes. We meet Lucy in Vault 33 and Maximus in the Brotherhood of Steel, all while admiring the excellent rendition of the game world. Lucy is forced to go outside and we're off to the races, setting the stage for episode 2, where we eagerly anticipate her searching for her father. Unfortunately, the series loses focus a little bit here for the next couple of episodes and only comes back to some sense in episode 4. Episodes 2 and 3 further focus on depicting the world and forgets about developing the characters in it. It feels like Lucy's main reason for coming into this extremely dangerous above world, totally unprepared, is forgotten about, and there's no sense of urgency to finding her father, considering she doesn't know the reason for his kidnapping. What if he was kidnapped for his organs or brain, considering he's a chemist, or to be traded, or even to be eaten? All of those outcomes would mean certain death, but instead Lucy's dealing with finding a scientist that she has no idea who he is, and no consideration to the fact that everybody else is after him, hence making him very dangerous to be around. On the other side, in the Brotherhood of Steel, we find Maximus, who is trying to go up the ladder and become a knight, but is not really the most likable character. He outright lies, he sabotages his best friend, and generally feels like he's lacking any intelligence, traits that do not really fit with the honorable image of a knight in the Brotherhood. The Ghoul is the most complex character, mainly because we see him before he becomes a mutant trying to save his daughter during the nuclear bombing of LA. Now working as a bounty hunter, his goals in the show are simple and driven by his own interest, even though he gets sidetracked early on. As viewers, we are here more for the characters and less for the world. If we don't immediately root for the characters from episode 1, we may turn away from watching episode 2. I was hooked from the beginning by Lucy's and the Ghoul's character, less so by Maximus, and was eager to see how they interact with the dangerous above-ground world. Instead, the show continues to focus on depicting the detail of the games, which to somebody that hasn't played the games at all can feel frustrating. The world seems to take center stage and the characters seem to just have fun taking in the wasteland, exploring abandoned buildings and running into various creatures with no rush to achieve their goals. Then there's the music. It is a staple of the game and is very well used in the first episode along with the slow motion and Django Unchained type of action sequences. However, by episodes 2 and 3, the repetition of the same type of music 3 or 4 times per episode during montages that show time passing or characters traveling can become a bit formulaic and increasingly frustrating. Luckily, we seem to get back on track in episode 4 with a hardened Lucy learning to navigate the harsh outside world and an interesting subplot developing nicely in the form of her brother Carl investigating the real purpose of Vault 33. It feels like this is when their show really starts, with characters developing and getting back to their goals. Episode 6, one of my favorites, gives depth to Lucy's character as she is a guest in Vault 4, and then the backstory of the Ghoul makes him a more relatable character with nuance and intrigue. All of this culminating nicely in episode 8 with a good amount of action and twists to set the stage for a second season. The showrunner's approach, be it intentional or not, to spend so much time on introducing the world may risk losing some viewers early on that have no knowledge of the games. I can see a second season being much more focused on its characters, and I'm certainly looking forward to it because there is a lot going for this show, and the world rendition is simply spectacular. If the characters become center stage, then it surely has the potential to match the quality of HBO's Last of Us. I certainly think it helps knowing or understanding the world of Fallout before watching the show. I did play Fallout 3 many years ago, but only for a few hours, and I did a bit of research on the game to remind myself what it was about. But even without playing the games, with a bit of patience, it will grow on you and can become enjoyable once it gets over the extensive introduction to the games. With adaptations of games or books, I tend to put it this way. If the adaptation is making the viewers play the game, then it does justice to that source material. But what are your thoughts? Did you enjoy the Fallout series? And if so, which parts? Let me know in the comments. And if you have time to watch another analysis of a TV series, stick around for a review of Shogun. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and until next time, I shall leave you in peace.